Okay, so this right here is a rumor that's been circulating around on the web, and I'm not entirely sure how much validity there is to it because I know about over a year ago the possibility of a Titanfall 3 was something that was basically shut down, because I believe there were plans to release that game sometime in the future, and I don't know, I guess Respawn Entertainment and EA had canceled it or whatever, but there's rumors going around now that's saying that's coming out in 2026, and it's supposed to I don't know, it's supposed to have like, multiplayer and Apex Legends content. And it's something that a lot of different websites are talking about. I believe I saw something on Insider Gaming. I've been reading things on Reddit, and I don't know. And then there have been other sites that kind of like refuted this, and one of them was GameSpot. The other one, I believe, was the Gamer that basically shut this down. And it was basically something that was denied by a industry insider by the name of Jeff Grubb, and I feel like it's one of those things where people really want, Titanfall 3 to happen, even though Titanfall 2 was not nearly as popular as the first game, despite having a campaign mode. And honestly, I don't think we need a Titanfall 3 at the moment. And the reason I say that is because the first person shooter genre is not as popular as it was like 15 or 20 years ago, or even 10 years ago. And and it's not to say that the first person shooter genre is dying or anything. It's just that, there's not really a high demand for Titanfall 3. And I think that became evident after Titanfall 2 failed to sell as much as the original Titanfall game from 2014. I think Titanfall 2 came out back in 2016. And I don't know. There are things that people feel like it could have done better. And and there are people who feel like Titanfall 2 is actually worse than Titanfall 1, which is why we didn't get an initial sequel to Titanfall 2. But in terms of profit, I remember reading a while back that Titanfall 2 actually did pretty, decent profit wise, but it still ended up being a flop for the most part. And it doesn't really surprise me because it came out in 2016. 2016 in general was just a horrible year. And no matter how good something was, it got trashed, or how decent something was, it got trashed. But, Titanfall had a variety of things that people could enjoy, like a campaign mode, a fun PvP versus game mode, a nice multiplayer player versus environment mode, and yeah, I mean, like I feel like Titanfall 2 for the most part is something that kind of just it fizzled out in terms of popularity over time. And I feel like it's because you have other franchises starting to become more popular, like Overwatch and like Fortnite. They started to explode in popularity. And I think it got to a point where people began to forget about the Titanfall series for the most part. And I don't know, like we haven't gotten a Titanfall game since 2016, and 2016 was like 9 years ago. Instead, Respawn Entertainment and EA, I think, started focusing on Apex Legends, and that's something that's set in the same universe as Titanfalls. It's taken a life of its own for the most part. A lot of people talk more about that than they talk about Titanfall nowadays. And the last major, I guess, I won't say major, but the last game that we've gotten within the Titanfall universe was Apex Legends Mobile from 2022. And the thing is, I haven't seen any, trailers or anything from EA themselves confirming that, we're going to get a Titanfall 3 anytime in the near future. And I feel like if that was the case, we would have known by now if Titanfall 3 was supposed to be coming out in 2026. And I think those are the rumors, right now. But then, there's, we're being told don't believe those rumors. And honestly, it's something that I agree with because I feel like we would have heard something from EA by now. And I feel like it's one of those things where people want to see Titanfall 3 happens. And then if it did come out or whatever, it would fall below their expectations and it'd just be like Titanfall 2 where, like, people really didn't care as much, so I feel like the series it had peaked with the first game back in 2014. I don't feel like we're gonna get a Titanfall 3 anytime in the future, if all for that matter, and, um and yeah, man, I haven't seen like EA just come out and say, "Yeah, Titanfall 3 is not happening. Don't get your hopes up," or anything like that. It's quite possible that it could happen a lot later down the line, but as far as 2026, it's something that I'm not really expecting to um to be released next year, and I don't think it's really on anyone's bingo card at the moment right now.